Well, good morning. That was BB Winan singing God Bless America 10 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. It is a Wednesday morning, the 22nd day of June, and we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. And anybody that wants to connect up with us there, maybe you can't get the signal good wherever you're going. Maybe that's just your best way of connecting up with us. Facebook and or YouTube, it is available to you. And to let you know is that previous programs, not only Sunday sermons, but previous programs are all on our Facebook and our YouTube feed. So there's a lot of material for you there. If you want to check it out, it's available for you. And let me give you a little hint, a little YouTube hint. Okay. You look at or you bring up a video that you might want to watch or at least listen to you, because, many times for YouTube, it's not that I'm watching it, I'm listening to it, especially when it comes down to teaching or preaching. But you can change the speed of the program that you're watching. So you can go to YouTube and you can find the place to where I think it's the three dots, the little hamburger stack that's there, and that you can change the playback speed and make it a little bit faster, 1.25, 1.5. I don't know why you want to get any faster than that, but you can shorten that time. So if this program usually ends up to be about an hour and 20 minutes or so, Monday through Thursday, you can change that time a little bit and get it all at the same time. It just comes to you a little bit quicker is what it does. So that's just something that I do many times. Little secret there, might as well share that with you all. We don't have a prayer line this morning, and we might not have it for a couple of days because of a phone failure on somebody's side. But let me tell you one thing, ladies, women's Bible study here at Cornerstone Church at 6 o'clock this evening. So any of your ladies out there want to have some good fellowship, have some prayer time, have some study time, they are starting a new book at Cornerstone Church at 6 o'clock on Wednesday evenings. Psalm 91 is what they have chosen. But we are if you saw the panel at the beginning, we are in 2 Chronicles chapter 23, and what we always do is start off with a little bit of review that sets up the next chapter that we're in, or the next portion of the scriptures that we're in. Good morning, Mike and Corrine and Guyanas Canyon. Hope you guys are doing well. A little report maybe on the river that's flowing in the back of your property there. Now, verse 10, chapter 22, 2 Chronicles. Now, when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. Now, who is Athaliah? Athaliah is the daughter of Jezebel. I'm going to give you a little bit. Let's see if it's the Cyclopedia. Yes, we saw this yesterday. We're going to see it again. And if you're on our social media platform and you're looking at the screen, you can see that we have clicked on the name Athaliah on the left panel. And then we go to the bottom right-hand side of the corner, and it tells us that Athaliah is the daughter of Ahab, king of Israel. So what has happened is that the Athaliah sees that her son, who was king, who was not a very good king, okay, his mother takes over. In fact, if you look at the last sentence of verse 9 that's at the top, it says, so the house of Ahaziah had no one to assume power over the kingdom. Watch this. So Ahaziah dies, but he's killed everybody off. and Athaliah his mother. Now, these are people that are allied with Jezebel. Jezebel is allied with a demon entity called Baal, a demigod, a counterfeit god, a demonic god, and that's where their root comes from, and that's where their power and that's where the authority is coming in from, that system, world system, the demonic system, the second heaven, however you want to call it. Baal is the name that he's using in this particular situation here, and we read in the, what was it, in the Second Kings with Elijah, and coming against Jezebel and all these things that were going on. Well, okay, so Ahaziah was king over the southern kingdom, but he was a direct descendant, son of Jezebel. Okay, well, grandson, would he have been? Anyway, he was the son of Jehoshaphat, but he was married to Jezebel's daughter. Now, Athaliah, his mother, saw that he was dead, and she arose and destroyed all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were being murdered. And I think that I'm off a little bit on the genealogy. I think it was Athaliah was the daughter that was married. Of course, we know that for sure, to the king's son, who became king. So then Ahaziah would have been the grandson. Okay, when she saw that he's gone, okay, she arose and destroyed all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from the king's sons who were being murdered. So Athaliah sees that her son has passed away, the king, and she grabs the power, the throne in Judah. She's not of the line of David. She has no authority. Well, she has enough authority that comes from Baal to do what she's doing. And what has happened is that after what was his name? I can't remember the king's names one from another. Let's see. I'm going to have to go back a couple of chapters, because Jehoshaphat was a good king. Then Jehoram, his son, reigns after him. Then Ahaziah comes in, the grandson of Jehoshaphat, and he does just as bad. And that's when this 23rd chapter comes into play. And we're going to finish here on chapter 22. I'm making sure that I have all my ducks in a row before we go into chapter 23, because I want you to see this. So there's really, if you understand this and you really see, there's a spiritual battle going on. Sometimes we look around. You look around, you say, well, all of these kings were wicked. No, not all of them were wicked. Well, we've had two kings. We had one that lasted 8 years, and then we had Ahaziah, who lasted a year, and they allowed, and the whole country. No, the whole country is not. There is a spiritual battle that's going on for the southern kingdom. Athaliah, allied with Baal, Jezebel, and all that Ahab stuff, has taken control of the throne. And we can look at it and we can say, well, it's over. No, it's not over. Why do I say it's not over? God always has a people. The word that we use many times today is the remnant. God always has a people. And yes, there's this darkness that is creeping in, that has crept in from the Syrians. The Assyrians really were not the Syrians, but the Assyrians. It crept down and came into the northern kingdom, and it's creeping down into the south. And you say, well, It's over. It's over. And you know what? You can look at your country today, and if you're watching just one mindset, one worldview that's out over there, you can come to a false conclusion to say that it's over. But look at Jehoshaphat, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from the king's sons who were being murdered. So Queen Mother is killing all of the boys. She's saying, listen, if I kill all of the sons of my son, she's killing her grandsons is what she's doing. Exactly right. So, wow, how could these people be so terrible? Well, the same way that we can open up abortion clinics and we can kill off our children left and right, millions and millions, but that's another story. We don't want to get into all kinds of controversy. And, this isn't even close to conspiracy theory. We know it's a truth that is happening in our world today, sadly to say. So, before we, throw Athaliah completely under the bus, let's look at our own situation. But Jehoshaphat, the daughter of the king, gets the youngest of all the sons of Ahaziah and steals him away. She's related to Ahaziah, but she is not aligned with her spiritually. Jehoshaphat, I hope I'm pronouncing her name somewhat close to the way it should be pronounced, at least with the English translation. She knows that there's a lineage that's going to be coming and has been coming through David all the way and extending as a perpetual lineage that God has promised. This lineage was going to take us all the way to Messiah. And if you look at Matthew and you look at Luke and you look at the genealogical records, you're not going to find Jehoshaphat's name there, but she was critical in making sure that that line was not cut off completely. This is a tremendous, tremendous theme that it's only, 3 verses or so? Okay, verse 11 is a big verse there, everything, but it is big. It's bigger more than just in all the words that it had. It's big in the action that is taken here. Because God's plan, remember, God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life. He loves this world so much that he had a plan for this world. And even though it had fallen in the garden, and what we have to realize many times is that we live in a fallen world, but God's plan was to redeem it. John 3:16 says that he so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believed in him would not perish but have everlasting life. And here we see this plan that is coming. It's marching on. It's rolling. It's going out onto this time to where Messiah was going to be born. And Joash is in that line. And Jehoshaphat, the daughter of the king, takes this young baby, Joash, the son of Azariah, and stole him away from the king's sons who were being murdered. Just about the time you think, well, it's over. And let me tell you what the enemy is trying to do. The enemy is trying to circumvent the promises of God. He will not. He cannot. But he's trying his best. So Jehoshaphat, let's finish the sentence, who were being murdered, and put him and his nurse in a bedroom. So Jehoshaphat, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah so she would not kill him. So I think I might be off a little bit on who's the daughter and the granddaughter and the son and the grandson, but they all they're related together, okay? So this helps us out a little bit. I'm having a hard time just remembering the names. I'm just having a hard time. AC, good morning. We have an AC. I think I might know who AC is on YouTube this morning? What does she do? Well, number one, she's the wife of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada is the high priest. There is no high priest in the northern kingdom because they've come up with their own religious system. But there's still a temple and temple worship, and there's still the Levitical setup down south according to the covenant of Moses. And how David had reestablished it and reinforced it. Jehoshaphat, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah so that she did not kill him. You know, you look around and you say, darn, what's all this about? Oh, yeah, all kinds. This is better than some television program that you watch, some novela out of it. This is the truth. This is how people ally themselves, either with Yahweh, the God of heaven, the God of eternity, or with these other false counterfeit gods that are out there. And he was hidden with him in the house of God for 6 years, while Athaliah reigned over the land. Athaliah, Queen Mother, is reigning over the land. And you say, well, I guess it's over with. I guess we don't have, any chances, and this is it. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why we're going through the Bible verse by verse, chapter by chapter, so we can know who this God is, who has a wonderful plan for this world, a wonderful plan for you and I, a wonderful plan that we can be part of every day. You can be part of God's plan today. 30 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. A little distracted, as you can tell, this morning, and if you can't, I might as well admit it right now. A little distracted, but we're keeping it. I might not have the lineage properly and not have, put it out there the way it should be, but it's still there. Anyway, the names are there. Anyway, 30 minutes, almost 31 minutes after the hour, we have a updated weather report for you. Mostly cloudy today here in Las Vegas, 70% chance, numerous showers and scattered thunderstorms, high around 69 with north-northeast winds 6 to 13 miles per hour. What's up with that cool weather? Last night it was cold, man. It was, 8 o'clock in the evening and like 53, 54 degrees, something like that. Probably 30 degrees lower than it was a week ago. Thursday, partly cloudy, 83 degrees is our expected high with scattered thunderstorms, southwest wind 9 to 18, gusts up to 26, 30% chance of precip, and then on Friday, partly cloudy, 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms, high around 84, west-southwest wind 8 to 15 miles per hour, and that is your updated weather report. So let's go back to our scriptures here, and I want to finish off the point, make sure that we know what's going on here before we get into chapter 23. There is your Bible program screen on Facebook and on YouTube. So, Jehoshaphat. I'm going to do a search on her name. Let's see if anybody else ever talks about Jehoshaphat. Nope. The only time you're going to hear the mention of this woman's name is in this verse that we're at over here. But what she does, and I'm sure that her husband is right along with it, these people are being faithful to Yahweh. These people are being used. This is part of the plan, the wonderful plan that God has for them. And just about the time that you think that everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket, excuse the expression, and every time, just about the time you think, well, it's over, look around. There's, look at your country. If you, once again, if you think that it's over for the United States of America, you're probably listening to too much of the of another. You're not getting a balance. Okay, my wife and I are watching. We watched the national news and the local news yesterday afternoon, and looking and seeing what they're saying. But and I want to tell you, and there are. I'm gonna. There's like 300 million people in the United States of America. And I would like to know, maybe God will reveal a number to you, and you tell me how many of those people are faithfully praying for God's will to be done in the United States of America. If there's 300 million people, I'm going to guarantee you there's millions of people, millions of people. In fact, before we go into chapter 23, let me tell you this, is that July the 23rd, at the geographical center, or close to the geographical center of the state of New Mexico, there's going to be a prayer meeting. And people from all over the state are going to come to the center of it, and we're going to pray for our state as a way of crying out to God and in reflection to a geographical prayer meeting, the center of the United States, that was made a few months ago. And all the states, all the 50 states are doing the same thing. And we're not concerned about curses, and we're not concerned about, people saying, well, we're going to come against it, we're going to do this. And no, 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 no. Our God reigns. In the seventh year, is it raining there in Santa Fe, Joe? It's raining here also. It was not raining a lot overnight, just a little sprinkle here and a little sprinkle there. But right now we're getting a decent rain. Yesterday it drizzled all day long. So raining in Santa Fe. Andrea found us on Facebook. And good morning, everybody that's out over there with us, especially UKLY and people that are with us locally. Little blurb there, just a little promo. Women's Bible study here at Cornerstone Church at 6 o'clock this evening. Great time for you ladies to come together, and you are invited. Ladies, you are invited. Every time I say that, ladies, I think of that Budweiser commercial where the guys with their beards put on wigs and try to look like women to come into the ladies' night bar and stuff like that. In the seventh year, you listened, you said Budweiser. Yeah. Give it a break, ladies and gentlemen. In the seventh year, Jehoiada strengthened himself. Who is Jehoiada? He is the husband of this woman that steals away the one remaining son before Athaliah kills them all. He is, Joash is part of that scarlet thread that you see that goes throughout the whole Bible. It's the thread of truth. It's the thread of righteousness. It's a thread of justice. It's a thread of love and goodness and kindness and mercy. And Jehoiada is the high priest. And Jehoiada and his wife have hidden away the king. The queen is counterfeit, but there's a little baby named Joash. In the seventh year of Jehoiada strengthened himself, he made a covenant with the captains of hundreds, Azariah the son of Jehoram, Ishmael the son of Jehohanan. I'm faking it out again, the pronunciation of these names. Azariah the son of Obed, Maasaiah the son of Adaiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zichri. And they went throughout Judah and gathered the Levites from all the cities of Judah and the chief fathers, and they came to Jerusalem. So Jehoiada has had Joash since he's a baby. For 7 years, they've been hiding him away. And This young kid probably has been getting Torah lessons since before he knew how to talk. And Jehoiada and his mother are responsible for protecting him and preparing him. So what Jehoiada does, he makes a covenant with the military, with the captains of hundreds, Azariah, Ishmael, Azariah, Maaseiah, and Elishaphat. And they went throughout Judah. So what I believe Jehoiada has done is he's gathered these captains together and he says, boys, I have a secret and I need to share it with you because it's time that the rightful descendant of David, and they bring out a little boy. And he says, I need you guys to go through all of Judah and find the faithful Levites in all the cities and the chief fathers, and I want you to tell them that there is a plan to come to Jerusalem because we got something big. This is not just big, this is huge. So the captains in verse 2 went throughout Judah and gathered the Levites from all the cities of Judah and the chief fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. Then all the assembly made a covenant with the king in the house of God. The king? He's just an 8-year-old kid. What do you mean, the king? He's the king. He is the rightful heir. He is the promise of the Father. There was a promise that to David that his line would be a perpetual line. And all of a sudden, it's not a secret anymore. Jehoiada, and I just want to keep on giving props to his wife and probably the nurse that helped take care of this dude until the unveiling, which we see right now. And you say, well, why do you keep on? To me, this is super important. This is God. This is God being part. This is God reversing. You have to realize that God has been reversing the curse since the fall. You say, wow, that was, probably 6,000 years ago. If somebody's math is right and somebody's timeline is right, it could have been 6. God has a plan, ladies and gentlemen. And the plan isn't just for this world. The plan stretches much bigger than that. All of creation is looking and seeing and understanding God's plan, and sometimes probably biting their nails and saying, and this is one of those times. But Joash is that part of the plan. And all creation sits back in these times as, God did it again. Yahweh did it again. And Jehoiada is part of that, and his wife, and these captains, and the Levites, and the chief fathers. They all assemble together in verse 3, and they make a covenant with the king in the house of God. And he said to them, behold, the king's son shall reign as Yahweh has said to the sons of David. Jehoiada gets up over there and says, boys, here is the king. Oh, wait a minute. Well, what do you mean? We got a queen. No, we don't have a queen. We don't have a queen. That ain't my queen. That might be your queen, but that ain't my queen. But we have a king, just as Yahweh has said to the sons of David. This is the promise and a fulfillment, which many fulfillments were going to come of that promise. There are going to be times like this where it seems like the water was going to be shut off, but then somebody's going to come on and turn it, and it's going to start flowing again. This is what you shall do. Jehoiada has this thing all figured out. 1/3 of you entering on the Sabbath of the priest and the Levite shall keep watch over the doors. 1/3 shall be at the king's house, and 1/3 at the gate of the fountain, and all the people shall be in the courts of the house of Yahweh. So all this leadership together calls them captains, Levites, chief fathers of the land, and he splits them up into thirds. And he said, okay, the priests and the Levites going to keep watch over the doors entering, I believe, into the temple. 1/3 shall be at the king's house, armed and ready for action. It doesn't say that. I added that on. And 1/3 armed and ready for action at the gate to the foundation. And all the people, I guess it's raining in Espanola too, it looks like. 1/3 shall be at the king's house, 1/3 at the gate of the foundation. All the people shall be in the courts of the house of Yahweh. So we're going to have all kinds of people here, and you guys are going to be stationed all around, because we don't expect this thing just, to be easy. But let no one come into the house of the Lord except the priests and those of the Levites who serve. So there was a course of the Levites, and there was priests with them. Remember, every priest is a Levite. Not every Levite is a priest. They had to be able to trace their lineage all the way to Aaron to be part of the priesthood. Nonetheless, he says, those who serve in the house will stay here with us, because we're going to have ourselves a ceremony. We're going to crown a king. We're going to have a coronation. And we know the process, because we did it to many kings all the way up to Saul. And we're going to perform the ritual. But let no one come into the house of the Lord except the priests and those of the Levites who serve. They may go in, for they are holy. But all the people shall keep watch keep the watch of the Lord. To keep the watch of the Lord. Yahweh is what I was trying to say. Keep the watch. Watch, ladies and gentlemen, watch. Do you realize that in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, let's see if we find something here that I can. Jesus said, watch out for yourselves. Jesus said, in Mark chapter 13:33, take heed, watch and pray. In verse 37, he says, and what I say to you, I say to all, watch. Look at that. Just one little word, and you just check it out in the New Testament, and you see, therefore, Thessalonians, Paul writing to them, said, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. Oh, well, hey, if you take only a literal translation of that, you ain't going to last very long. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to bed and shouldn't sleep. It's just that spiritually we should not sleep spiritually, but we should be on the alert, and that is exactly what Jehoiada is telling the leaders. They may go in, the priests and the Levites, for they are holy, but all the people shall keep the watch of the Lord. You are his eyes and you are his ears here on earth. You're part of the army of God. You are part of the secret service of God here on earth, is what he's telling them. But he knows that there's also an army in heaven. The Levites, verse 7, shall surround the king on all sides. I get a feeling that some people think, well, this is kind of boring stuff. I don't think it's boring at all. I think this is power-packed. I think there's a lot of parallels that we can, as we always do, draw with our current situation. And that's why I love God and his word, is because I can read this historical account and I can make an application to my life, to my family, and beyond. It just ripples out more and more all the way to the other end of the world and back again. The Levites shall surround the king on all sides, every man with his weapons in his hand. This is warfare, ladies and gentlemen. This is having the full armor of God. When he says every man with his weapons in his hand, he says have that sword ready to go. Have that armor on. Because this could get nasty. This could get bloody. Spiritual warfare. Well, yeah, that's part of it, is spiritual warfare. And you have to realize that spiritual warfare is part of your world today. I think there's some people who, just kind of hang their head the minute we start talking about spiritual warfare and start tuning us out. Maybe it's not naturally, but maybe sometimes even in their heart they start tuning us out. But I want to tell you, spiritual warfare is part of the process for a born-again person, and we need to realize that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places, and we have to be armed properly. We have to have the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, have our feet shod with the gospel, have our shield of faith, and have the sword of truth. And that's what's happening here. Every man with his weapons in his hand. Whoever comes into the house, let him be put to death. You are to be with the king when he comes in and when he goes out. But he's just a little kid. Yeah, I know. I think the same thing sometimes. But the key to this whole thing is Jehoiada. And I'm going to throw props out to his wife, Jehoshaphat, or whatever we said her name was. So the Levites and all Judah did according to that Jehoiada the priest commanded. Each man took his men who were to be on duty on the Sabbath, and those who were going off duty on the Sabbath, for Jehoiada the priest had not dismissed the divisions. So some of these guys are working overtime. Hey, man, it's time for us to punch out. Well, not today. We got something a little bit more important. We're thinking you should hang around. You might want to see this. Those who were going off duty. And I want to tell you, Jehoiada had been responsible for keeping the temple worship going. Do you think Athaliah was happy with keeping the temple? No. In fact, she had tried to bring Baal worship into the temple. In fact, I think she had brought Baal worship into the temple. And we got a battle here. And Jehoiada's been a principle in fighting this battle against the Athaliahs of the world, against the Jezebels of the world. Jezebel died physically, but that spirit, we even find it in the second chapter of the book of Revelations. Jehoiada the priest gave to the captains of hundreds the spears and the large and small shields which belonged to King David that were in the temple of God. Remember that when David had laid up all of these, that he had got much of the silver and the gold, and he had made these shields. Jehoiada takes them off the wall and says, "Listen, boys, you need this." Oh, but they're for pretty. They're there just to no, they're not. This is warfare, ladies and gentlemen. This is warfare. Then he said, all the people, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple. I'm telling you, do you have your weapon in your hand today? Do you have the sword of the Spirit? Do you have the shield of faith? Do you have your head protected with that helmet of salvation? Do you have your heart protected with the breastplate of righteousness? You have the belt of truth on. You got your feet shod with the gospel of peace. Every man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, along by the altar and by the temple all around the king. So they have the king. They have this, imagine this kid, 7, 8 years old. I think he was 8 years old, really, is by this time. Then they got all this activity around him. Jehoiada has said, listen, son, one of these days, you're going to be there. You're going to be right there by that pillar, right there, and that's where we crown the king. All this army, all this protection is all around him. They brought out the king's son, put the crown on him, gave him the testimony, and made him king. They put the scroll in his arms, the testimony, or maybe, I don't think they took out the tablets of Moses and put it in his arms. I think that stays within the ark, but they put the word in his hands and said, here, bring him out. Put the crown on him, gave him the testimony, made him king. Then Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and said, long live the king. We have a king now, a rightful heir, not the counterfeit. And the counterfeit just doesn't pack the bags and go out of town. He says, okay. No. When Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people in the temple of Yahweh. She shouldn't have even been there to begin with. But she hears the noise. The bullets are going off. The fireworks are being blown. They don't have it. She hears the noise. She hears what's going on. What's that activity that's going on? When she looked, verse 13, chapter 23, 2 Chronicles, when she looked, there was the king standing by his pillar at the entrance. So there was a pillar, I guess it was the king's pillar, and right there is where they would crown the kings and put the robe on them and say, long live the king, and put the testimony in his hand and say, listen, you're God's instrument for the days. You have your days. This is God's plan. Do you realize that God loves us and has a wonderful plan for our lives, individually and corporately? She looked, there was the king standing by the pillar at the entrance, and the leaders and the trumpeters were by the king. And all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. All of a sudden, wait, where were all these people? I thought Athaliah had everybody fooled and everybody into idolatry and immorality, and iniquity was pervasive in the land. Oh, no, these people are saying, yeah, I told you this Athaliah thing, and they're rejoicing. Why? Because it's God's will. They're coming out of the woodwork. They're ready for war now. All the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets, also the singers with the musical instruments of those who led in praise. So Athaliah tore her clothes and said, treason. No, she was the treasonous one, not Jehoiada. She was the treason with all this taking over, killing the grandsons, all of this ugliness that was going on. But you know what? Her days were over with, man. The enemy's day will be over with. The enemy always overplays his hand. The enemy always, listen, we have a God who is eternal. God of love, God of peace, God of goodness, God of kindness. And we got to play a song to our God right about now. This is Lifescape Singing Rock of Ages, 3 minutes before the hour of
11.
Let me hide myself in thee, Rock of Ages. Good morning, Las Vegas. You're listening to KLYN-LP. It is a Wednesday morning, 22nd day of June. 54 degrees is the current temperature. Humidity, 64%. Wind or a breeze at 5 miles an hour. And we have a barometric pressure, 30.03 inches. Let me hide myself in thee. That's what they were doing with Joash. They were hiding him. They were hiding him in Yahweh. And now it was his time to be revealed to all of the people that there was a king. Could you imagine? Yeah, in my imagination, I live in these times when I'm reading the Bible. And in my imagination, sometimes I'm the king, sometimes I'm the prophet, sometimes I'm just the everyday worker. In fact, most of the time, I'm just the everyday guy, probably going to work every day and saying, well, it sure was nice, man. It sure was nice when we had a righteous king through the line of David, but probably losing hope, probably just, saying, well, they're going to be coming for me one of these days. They're going to be knocking on my door. And then this happens, and there's rejoicing in the streets. Hope springs back up again. That window of hope is opened up, and they see the glorious future. And say, God has a plan. God is still on the throne. Oh my God, I never realized what Jehoiada and his wife and the nurse had kept it a secret to all of the land for 7 years. Athaliah had never found out about it till now. When she looked that there was a king standing by the pillar, she tore her clothes and said, treason, treason. And Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds who were set over the army. Remember, those captains of hundreds were the first ones that he had called to himself. Got the military on his side and said, listen, are you on Yahweh's side or are you on Jezebel's side? Calls the captains and said to them, take her outside under guard and slay her with the sword. Slay with the sword whoever follows her, for the priest had said, do not kill her in the house of Yahweh. Yeah, no, she's not going to be the sacrifice. We're not going to kill her here. She's not, but you just take her out. And anyone else who follows her. You said, well, this is brutal. Well, it was brutal when she was killing her sons or her grandsons, and it was brutal when her son was killing all of his brothers and getting rid of everybody so that they could keep this counterfeit religion going and this darkness creeping into Judah. And Jehoiada and others faithful, the remnant. Can you say the remnant this morning? I look at some of the people that watch or listen to us here as the remnant. Yeah, there's a lot of division. There's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of depression, and there's a lot of terrible things that are going on. But baby, you got to look through the window of hope, and you got to say that God has a plan. We don't know exactly how God's plan is always going to work out. Well, we know He's got a plan, and we trust in Him. Remnant. Somebody that's going to keep the faith. Take her outside, slay her with a sword, and whoever follows her. So they seized her. And she went by way of the entrance of the horse gate into the king's house, and they killed her there. Could you see they're arresting her and dragging her out of the temple? She went. I don't think she went willingly. I could hear some choice words coming out of her mouth as the captains are taking her to the entrance of the horse gate into the king's house. But her time is over with. They killed her there. let's finish the job. That's probably all that I'm going to say about that. People, get all wiggy when, oh, but let's just, let's save the planet, save the animals, listen, listen, listen. We're doing spiritual warfare here. Enough said for now. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between himself, the people, and the king that they should be Yahweh's people. So Jehoiada, he's the one that's pushing this whole thing. God is using him. The grace of God to bring these reforms are right now in the hands of Jehoiada, the high priest. The king's just a little kid, man. But he's an important little kid. And he's not going to stay a little kid forever. So Jehoiada makes a covenant between himself, the people, the king. See, Jehoiada represents the Levites and the priests. The people, all the resident, and the king, that they should be Yahweh's people. We do not belong to that counterfeit religion. We do not belong to Jezebel. We do not belong to Baal worship. We belong to Yahweh. And all the people went into the temple of Baal and tore it down. A little mob action over here now in verse 17. They broke in pieces its altar and images and killed Matan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. Let's take care of business. Let's finish it off. Also, Jehoiada appointed the oversight of the house of the Lord Yahweh to the hands of the priests, the Levites. It's time to take this get the Baal temple out of, and now we're going to reestablish full ritual, full worship of Yahweh. Jehoiada appointed the oversight of the house of the Lord to the hands of the priests, the Levites, whom David assigned to the house of the Lord, to offer the burnt offerings of Yahweh, which is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as was established by David. So now, instead of, thank you, Andrea. That's the type of information I need once in a while. So now, instead of there being this competing religions for the hearts of the people, the worship of Baal has been taken care of. The people are happy. The people are rejoicing. Jehoiada's, bringing back. He's repairing the work that Moses and David had done. And he set the gatekeepers of the gates of the house of Yahweh so that no one who was in any way unclean should enter. So the way that I look at this is they had defiled the temple. The temple that Solomon had built, they had defiled it. And Jehoiada is going to say, we're going to purify this scene. He took the captains of hundreds, the nobles, and really we're going to see that the young boy is going to... He took the captains of hundreds, the nobles, the governors of the people, all the people of the land, brought the king down from the house of the Lord. They went through the upper gate to the king's house and set the king on the throne of the kingdom. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, for they had slain Athaliah with the true sword. Now that I read this and look at this, after reading the last couple of chapters, talking about Jehoram and Ahaziah and then Athaliah, I figure that a lot of these people were on Yahweh's side. And now they see the move and they join the move. Verse 1, chapter 24. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zabiah of Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada took 2 wives for him, and he had sons and daughters. Now, if we were all together in one room with a Bible study, I would read the first 3 verses like it just did, and I said, is there anything that seems a little odd to you? Anything that sticks out in those first 3 verses? And I would wait to see if anybody had any response. See whether, because there's something odd. Let's read it one more time. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zebiah of Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest, and Jehoiada took 2 wives for him. He had sons and daughters. He said, well, Pastor, maybe it's them 2 wives, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's this. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. There's a little hint there. A little hint of where we're going. Now, verse 4. And, the scripture will bear it out, so hang with us. Might be tomorrow, but hang with us anyway. Could be today. Hang with us. Or you can read it for yourself. Hang there. And it happened after this that Joash set his heart on repairing the house of the Lord Yahweh. All right, now, Joash is not 7 years old anymore. Jehoiada has the singers and the Levites and putting people in their place. But the temple had fallen in a state of disrepair because of the Baal temple and because of Athaliah, Ahaziah, Jehoram, all this Jezebelian stuff that was all going on all the way. I made up a new word, Jezebelian. And Joash now, he's starting to take charge of the kingdom. He sets his heart on repairing the house of Yahweh. He says, we got to get this place back. We got to get it fully back the way it is. He gathered the priests and the Levites and said to them, go out to the cities of Judah, gather from all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that you do it quickly. However, the Levites did not do it quickly. They're probably looking at Jehoiada. They're probably saying, well, I don't think, you see kind of that little look and that little, crease in his forehead, and I don't know if Jehoiada was really on top of this, so let's kind of drag our feet on it a little bit. Joash wants to repair the temple of Solomon. So he says, let's get a tax going. Well, I think there was a tax already according to the covenant. There was certain monies that should come in for the temple according to was it David or was it Moses that put that down? That's a trail that we should be covering one of these days. So the king called Jehoiada the chief priest and said to him, why have you not required the Levites to bring in from Judah and from Jerusalem the collection, according to the commandment of Moses, the servant of the Lord, and of the assembly of Israel for the tabernacle of witness? So my question in verse 5 has been answered in 6. It was Moses who commanded for there to be a tithe that would come in, or an offering that would come in for the people. Let's see if it's in Moses placed the rods before the tabernacle. He went to witness. Nope, that's not it. You shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle, over its furnishings. They shall attend to it and camp around. Nope, I can't see that there either. It's not showing me where the commandment Moses was for them. But Joash understands. Young man now, not a kid anymore. You're not a kid anymore. And he he says, let's repair this temple and let's institute this stream of revenue come in so that we can repair it. And they don't do it. They just kind of drag in their feet and say, well, maybe one of these days the king might want you guys. Jehoiada, why have you not required the Levites to bring in from Judah and from Jerusalem the collection according to the commandment of Moses, the servant of the Lord, in the assembly of Israel for the tabernacle of witness? So it looks like, he's kind of thinking for himself now. For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken into the house of God and had also presented all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord to the Baals. So she was getting this money that was coming in, and she was giving it to the counterfeit God. Then, at the king's command, they made a chest and set it outside at the gate of the house of the Lord Yahweh. I guess this is where some of our collection boxes come in. You might go into church and you might see a collection box and you put, your envelope there or your check or whatever it is. And anyway, this is a chest at the king's command. Now you say, Jehoiada, what was Jehoiada's problem? Was there a problem? And if there was a problem, what could have been? Well, maybe the people had been suffering under Athaliah and Ahaziah and Jehoram, and maybe financially they weren't doing well, and he's saying, you know what, just a maybe here on 95.7, just a maybe he was just out there saying, you know what, the people can't afford it. This is tough on the people. But the king says, I made a command, go make a chest, set it outside the gate of the house of the Lord. And they made a proclamation throughout Judah and Jerusalem to bring to the Lord Yahweh the collection that Moses, the servant of God, had imposed on Israel in the wilderness. So we have a collection box. Then all the leaders and all the people rejoiced, brought their contributions, and put them into the chest until all had given. Now, I'm just telling you that Jehoiada might have had an issue with this, and the Levites too. Apparently they did. But the people are, watch this verse 11. So it was at that time when the chest was brought to the king's official by the hand of the Levites, and when they saw that there was much money, that the king's scribe and the high priest's officer came and emptied the chest, took it and returned it to its place. Thus they did day by day and gathered the money in abundance. You say, well, what happened here? The people were willing in the day. There's I don't know if I can find this scripture or not, because it's probably, I don't have enough of a handle on it, but doesn't the Psalms talk about they will be willing in the day, not doi, but in the day? Who is willing to consecrate himself to the Lord this day? That's First Chronicles. There, I'm going to use that, get us in trouble, see if we can find anything, because I'm pretty sure in the Psalms, and I don't find it on Treasure Scriptural Knowledge, I'm pretty sure in the Psalms that it says that your people will be willing in the day. And this is what we see. Why have you not required? Make a chest, put it in the door, and every day they have to empty out the chest. My God. All the leaders and all the people rejoiced. I mean, they're not coming and saying, well, we better. If we don't, he's going to be mad at us. If he's not, Jehoiada, do we have? No. They come in with joy. They come in and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you. That's the way you should come, with the check in your hand and your envelope in the other hand. You should come in and say, yeah. Oh, but I can't afford it. I've heard people tell me all my life, I can't afford it yet. I'm going to tell you, you can't afford not to. You want to bring the blessing into your life, understand breaking the curse over mammon in your life. And some people don't get it. Some people don't want to get it. But now, every day, they got to bring the chest in and empty it out. Day by day, and they gathered money in abundance. Why? Well, because here's another issue. Here's something else we need to understand. Is that the king has the heart of David. What was one of David's main desires? And when we went through First Chronicles, I saw this very plain, and it was one of the highlights of this time going through this part of the scripture. What was one of David's main concerns? Okay, remember, God has a plan for you. He loves you. He has a wonderful plan for your life. What was one of the plans that God had for David's life? For him to bring back the ark and then to prepare the temple. The king has a heart to repair the temple. This is the house of God. You know, one of these days we're going to be in Haggai, and Haggai's going to come and tell the people, because the temple is going to fall in a tremendous amount of disrepair one of these days. And we're reading 2 Chronicles, written by Ezra and the boys that had come back from exile, and they're going to see that the walls had been broken down around Jerusalem and the temple had been destroyed, and Haggai's going to have to come and pull the leadership to the side and say, listen, we need to rebuild the house of God. We're rebuilding our own houses, but we're not rebuilding the house of God. You have it backwards, boys. That's why you put your money in your pocket and it's not there when you go looking for it, like if you had a hole in your pocket, because there's a curse. Mammon is still in operation. You need to know how to break the curse. The people are coming in day by day. They're coming in with joy. They rejoiced. Oh, we don't like hearing this. Oh, wait. When you move from the curse to the blessing, you're going to love it. But it takes some sacrifice to move you from the curse of mammon to the blessing that God has over our lives. Every day, the king's scribe and the high priest's officer came and emptied the chest and took it and returned to its place. They did it day by day, gathered money in abundance. I'll tell you what, the pastors of this community should be thanking me for doing the dirty work. And it ain't that dirty. It's the truth of God's word. Let's move from the curse, ladies and gentlemen. Are your finances cursed? The king and Jehoiada gave, and it's not about building a brand new building. It's about, understanding God's plan for our finances, putting it in the right hands, and then reaching out unto the people. Not about gold faucets on our houses and silver platters for our dogs to eat off of. It's a perversion. Where do you get all this stuff from? From many, many years of experience. About 45. The king and Jehoiada gave it to those who did the work of the service of the house of the Lord. They hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of the Lord, and also those who worked in iron and bronze to restore the house of the Lord. So you see here that the work has started. The heart of the king was to repair. The heart of the king was to get this work done. But we needed finances to do it. And the finances come in. Anyway, that's it for today's program. Put your bookmark there on the 12th verse, and we will be back tomorrow at a few minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock and continue right there in 2 Chronicles chapter 24. This is Andrew Rip singing Fill My Cup.